this pattern, this is just your pretty basic Elk Hair Caddis, but your Elk Hair Caddis typically has a dubbing body, and then you hackle the fly over the dubbing. But I've been tying a lot of these over the winter, and there's really no limit as to what you can use for the body. You can use, like a foam works well, like a 1 millimeter razor foam, or holographic tinsel, or pheasant tail. Just experiment. So this one's going to have a peacock, a dyed peacock body. So I'm using that same piece of hackle that I used on the last fly. So this is a size 12 hook, but this is a size about an 18 dubbing. Because once I put the peacock on, I'm adding bulk. So if I were to use a size 12 hackle on this, it's going to be too big. So I like to downsize my hackle by 1 or 2 sizes. And I'm going to tie in my hackle here at the back of the hook instead of at the front. I know the original pattern calls for the hackle to be tied in up near the eye, and then you would wrap it back, and then you counter wrap the hackle with the wire. I try not to put wire on my dry flies whenever possible. But when you're fishing with barbless hooks, they pop out of the fish's mouth so easily. I don't think the hackle really gets disturbed all that much. So this is a Nature Spirit dyed peacock eye. They bleach it, and then they dye it. I think this is just brown colored. So I'm going to take two of those fibers, 2 hurls, and I'm not going to tie them in right here because these tips are really quite fragile. So I'm going to give it a good inch or so, tie it in up here. And you can just rip those off. And then I'm just going to take hold of both of those and wrap them forward. So the peacock's going to add a little bit of a sparkle to the body of the fly. Trap it. And snip off the excess. Now grab a hold of your hackle and just palmer this up the length of the body. Tie it off. It's gonna bug me. Okay. So for the wing, I'm going to use Nature Spirit Select cow elk, and you can get them in these gigantic 6-inch patches. I think a lot of people probably use too much hair when they tie in their Elk Hair Caddis. I had a guy tell me once that you want it to be just sparse enough that it'll allow some light to kind of penetrate through the hair, that the fish can actually see some light through the hair. I think that maybe simulates the natural look of the wings. So I'm going to strip out all the shorts and the fuzzies. It's also a lot easier to tie in a smaller amount of hair than it is a big giant clump of it. Give that a good stack. Okay, and then I'm going to measure this so it's past the body, just about to the bend of the hook. So then I like to put in 1 loose wrap, 2 loose wraps, and then pull it tight towards me, and now put in 3 more tight wraps, and then put in 3 more tight wraps. And at this point I'm going to lift up about 1/3 of those butts and put in another wrap and do the same thing, and then pull up all the remaining butts. And now we're going to whip finish underneath the butts. So snip off your thread, and then you just have to separate the butts from the tips. And when you tie it in using that technique, you can't even dislodge. So at this point you can manipulate the feathers or the hair. And so that should be sparse enough. It's going to allow some light to penetrate through there. So that's a peacock body Elk Hair Caddis. What's that? No cement. You could put a little bit on your thread when you do those last couple of wraps under the. I try not to use. I don't use a lot of adhesives on my flies. They seem to last. If it falls apart because you caught too many fish, then the fly did its job. So.